People are dying just to make clothes cheap, and I find that very upsetting. So what is fast fashion? Fast fashion is inexpensive clothing produced rapidly by mass market retailers in response to the latest trends. And why is that a problem, you ask? Number one, it's producing a lot of waste. When a t-shirt is $5 or $10, you don't really need to think if you really need it or not, if you really like it or not. You just buy it, and then if you don't like it, it's just $5. The second problem, which is more important, how could they possibly make a t-shirt cost less than $5 when there is rent to take care of, electricity, shipping, paying the people who made the t-shirt, the fabric itself? It just does not add up. So since clothes are incredibly cheap now, in America last year they've thrown out 70 pounds worth of clothes per person on average. That might not seem like a lot, but keep in mind that clothes are very light, so you can only imagine how many clothes that is. Thousands of people protest in Bangladesh and Philippines, Vietnam, you name it, just because they're not paid in time, for example. So on average, factory workers in Bangladesh make around 24 cents an hour, and that is below the living wage in Bangladesh. A lot of people argue that seems like nothing in Western countries and in developed countries, but it is still below minimum wage in Bangladesh. A lot of people argue as well that yes, it seems like a horrible position, but it's still providing jobs in these countries and saving people from poverty. But honestly, I just think that makes it worse, because these companies are taking advantage of people who are in extreme need and exploiting their rights. Often people put pressure on these companies for a week, a day, even a month, and then the companies know that the people are going to eventually forget. And that's why they always make promises. Oh, in 2020 we're gonna do this, we're gonna stop using sweatshops, and we're gonna stop using toxic dyes. And honestly, like, we all know that these companies are so powerful. Like, if they wanted to really make it happen, they would make it happen now, because they have the resources, they have the power, the money, you name it. So please don't buy into the bullshit. Before Rana Plaza happened in 2013, and I'm sure many of you heard about what happened, where many people died and the ones who survived were severely injured. I would have some compassion to these companies, the fast fashion companies, and I would understand that maybe perhaps they actually didn't know. But after Rana Plaza, there is no excuse. None. After Rana Plaza, I think that was a big wake-up call for those companies and for the consumer. It sickens me how people die and are injured and are put in very dangerous situations, working with toxic chemicals or put in unsafe building and pressured to work overtime and work 7 days a week. And these workers are being treated very poorly just so they can meet the deadline, so these clothes can be shipped on time and for a cheap price. And now we're gonna move on to the solution. So if you care about this, what can you do? Number one, and this is something everyone can do, is to buy less. Before you buy anything, just like really think if you really need it, when are you gonna wear it, or how are you gonna use it. And I always like to ask myself, like, why am I buying this? What am I gonna do with it if I didn't want it anymore? And that sort of questions. Oh, and there is something I always do too, is that I just like don't buy it right away. I'm like, okay, next time I'm here, or maybe tomorrow if it's like something online, if I still want it, I'll buy it. So you avoid impulse purchases. And buying less just doesn't just mean buying less. Like sometimes you can borrow things instead of buying them. I do this all the time. I always borrow wedding dresses because I don't go to that many formal events. So when I have one, I just like borrow one from my aunt, from my sisters, whoever, friends, family members, you name it. So I couldn't handle my hair, so I just like went to tie it up, and then we're back. One of my favorite things to do is to throw a swipe party. Basically, you invite all of your friends that are in town. What I like to do is to have it from like 4 or noon until like 8 p.m. at night or 10 or whatever, and people can come in whenever they can. Everyone brings in things that they no longer need, such as clothes, electronics, books, anything, and you exchange. Some people like to do it more organized and like one item for another, but the way I like to do it is just like it's a friendly exchange, so anything that works for you, you can take it. And it's great because I had some like really good items that just like looked horrible on me. You know, like sometimes you have pieces that are good in theory, but in reality just like it's not for you. So yeah, and they looked great on my friends, even though we were all different styles, heights, body shapes, you name it. And I got some really good books too that day, I remember. So yeah, have one, even if you don't care about ethical fashion. They're really fun, and it just gives the gathering a purpose, and gives it an activity, a fun one that, I mean, everyone loves shopping, so when you're like having shopping for free and you usually like your friends' styles, and we always wish we could shop from our friends' closets, so that's kind of it. So yeah, my other tip is to fix your clothes if they need fixing, and that kind of goes hand in hand with buying high quality items. Okay, so I bought these pants online, and when they arrived, like, they were perfect. I loved them, but they were a bit too big, and I was like, whatever, they're gonna be more comfortable that way, but they weren't. Oversized shirts are very comfortable. Pants, not so much. So I took them to the tailor and made them a little bit smaller. If you know how to do that yourself, then that's amazing. There's so many YouTube videos online to teach you how to do that, so you can do that. But in Saudi Arabia, it's very cheap to get that done from a professional, so that's what I did. I took a few pieces that I had. Some of them, the band was like too loose, so I took that to be replaced. I had some like ripped pieces, and I got all that fixed all together, and it cost me like 50 riyals. I fixed this, and probably the guy didn't do that great of a job, so it ripped again. I love going to thrift shops when I'm traveling. Only got $20 in my pocket. I'm hunting, looking for a come up. Because every country, every city would have a different style. Some thrift shops can be overwhelming, and I've been to a few, and I would just like get in and I was like, whoa, that is a lot of clothes. I cannot, and I would just leave. So always be prepared mentally that some of them are going to be messy. Some of them have a weird smell just because they have a lot of vintage items, not because they're dirty or whatever. And you can always wash them yourself before wearing them if you are a bacteriaphobe. In Saudi Arabia, we don't have thrift shops, not that I'm aware of. But what you can do, you can go to your grandma's closet or your mom's closet, because most of them love to keep a lot of things that nobody's wearing. They just like keep them for memory, and you can ask if you can have it, and they would usually give it to you. Otherwise, there's a lot of amazing ethical fashion brands, and I have a lot of them organized in a page on my website. I'm going to be linking that below. Whatever you're wanting to buy, you can check that list and see if there's anything that works for you, because there's some items that you just cannot buy or are going to be really hard to find and used, such as like socks, underwear, swimsuits, and if you were like looking for something very specific. And yes, some ethical brands can be on the more expensive side, but honestly, like I don't understand, like, when was clothes supposed to be cheap? I don't think we were I don't think we're meant to have that many clothes that we do today. And honestly, it just makes life more difficult because you have more to choose from, and then that just can be crippling sometimes. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is please be more serious when you're donating your old clothes. Don't just like donate them to any charity. See if anyone you personally know first want your clothes or need them, because these organizations usually receive a lot of clothes, furniture, you name it, every single day. So it takes them a while to go through the boxes and the bags of clothes and crap. Like sometimes people donate just like weird stuff. So it takes them a while to go through that and filter through it. So sometimes it would end up like years would go by before them maybe like getting to your stuff. And a lot of times donated clothes get shipped to other countries and sometimes even sold there, not donated. So it's a very gray area. So always have it to be the last resort. Please watch the true cost and check out Kristen's channel. And that's it. This shirt is vintage, by the way. So you can find some really cool stuff in thrift shops. Got these pants that are vintage as well. Got them in London. And that's me showing off my flexibility. And I don't remember where I got these socks from. I think they were from a thrift shop too. Sometimes thrift shops would have socks donated from a company or a store because they would have like an overstock that they don't need, so they just like donate it. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any questions, if you have any tips, recommendations, leave them for me in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching. Shukran.